What do dogs think about when they swim? By Dog Bai. The November weather in Hong Kong is still warm, but the sea water has cooled down. So when I walk with my dad at the beach, he just lets me walk around and splash some water, not letting go of my leash, as in the summertime when I could swim in the sea in all the ways I want. It makes me miss summer. But next year's summer is still a winter and a spring away. So for now, I will just have to settle with reminiscing about this past summer. Back then, I swam in the water almost every day, while my dad sat sometimes laying down on the beach. He was tanned even though he wore a hat and sometimes used an umbrella. The sun in Hong Kong is really tough in summer, but I'm not afraid of that because as a dog, I'm protected by a thick layer of fur. That's what I thought today while walking with my dad on the beach. What do dogs usually think about, you ask? Well, quite a bit of our walking time is spent thinking about what yummy food to eat. When sleeping, I also think about what yummy food I had thought about eating during the day. We do think about other things too. For example, yesterday when I went to bed, I also thought about the time I spent swimming in the sea in the summer, so my arms and legs were moving around in my dreams. But when you ask, I'm reminded of an essay my dad wrote some time ago titled What I'm Thinking When I Swim. He was inspired by reading Haruki Murakami's book, What I Think When I Run. The title of the book may be slightly different, but it's probably similar. And while Haruki Murakami begins his book with a quote from Maugham, the British writer, saying that everything a man does with his shaver when he shaves represents a philosophy. My dad begins his essay by saying that everything a man does with his arm when he swims also represents a philosophy. That's how all the writers in the world get inspired by each other. Speaking of which, I'm also inspired, and that's why I'm writing this piece of my own, which will be entitled What a Dog Thinks While Swimming. And I would like to start by saying that everything a dog does with its four paws, up and down, also represents a philosophy. But what does this philosophy actually consist of? First of all, most dogs don't like to swim in the water, just as many people never do. Let me tell you how bad it is. All summer long, it's almost just me, the only dog swimming here. Well, occasionally a few other dogs came and walked around, sometimes on the beach, sometimes in the grass further away. Well, what they are doing is nothing more than looking for food, splashing pee, or sniffing each other for hormones. Their philosophy is terrestrial, inward-looking, and conformist. On the other hand, the philosophy of a dog like me who likes to swim in the ocean is oceanic, of course, oceanic, and risk-taking, adventurous. Secondly, the dogs that love to swim in the ocean have each their own set of philosophy, different depending on the length of the time spent in the water, the elegance of the four paws paddling, and the naturalness of their facial expression, to name but a few. In these aspects, I naturally do well, without deliberately striving for perfection. But since there are so few dogs that go into the water, there is no way to compare. But I think I'm at the top of the list anyway. Why are there so few dogs in the water? Maybe they're afraid of being beaten. What? There's a Chinese proverb that says, beat the dog that falls into the water. The Chinese people are really hard on dogs. I mean, many of them. And in many places, they even eat dog meat. My dad says he doesn't go to any places that eat dog meat, like Guangxi province or Korea. However, South Korea has just recently set up a legal project scheme to end the habit of eating dog meat within 3 years. During this time, the factories, stores, and the restaurants involved in this vicious cycle of dog meat eating get subsidized to transform to other businesses. So my dad will or may go to Korea, considering their willingness to repent. Back to where we talked, I didn't feel that it is more likely to be beaten up in the water than on land. On the contrary, when I was in the water, people walking by and swimming nearby in the water waved and smiled at me, apparently feeling I'm adorable and extraordinary. Some of the kids ran over to play with me, and I had quite a few playmates as a result. The dogs on land who were looking for food or peeing only got no attention. In life, you just have to be cheerful, a bit extroverted, and fun to get new friends. Then again, most dogs don't like water sports, and neither do people. My dad also mentioned in his essay that in his large residential neighborhood of several high-rise buildings, there must be a lot of residents, but there are a completely disproportionate number of people who swim in the clubhouse. Similarly, the ocean here is so beautiful, but very few dogs come, and even fewer who go into the water. What a waste of resources. This means that most dog parents don't like to bring their dogs here, or maybe their parents are lazy, or maybe not so many people have dogs. Oh, the dog parents are busy. Oh, the dog parents don't like the sea. Oh, they just don't care much about their dogs. Come to think of it, I'm one of the special lucky dogs with a dad who isn't lazy, who has a dog, who isn't too busy, who likes the sea, and who cares about me. I looked at my dad one day and thought to myself, can my dad be busier? Can he try to make more money and become more famous? My dad read my little mind right away, and he bit down and said right to my dog face, don't worry, my dear, fame and fortune come and go, but my love for you is forever. What can you find a good dog dad like that? Of course, I know my dad has been busy. While he's on the beach watching me swim, he has been also typing all the time on his computer, writing articles and translating books, and at the same time making money from investments. My dad is the best. Finding my dad lost in working, I sometimes teased him on purpose by doing something scary. You know, there are ropes and floats in the water that mark out a safe area for people to swim, and I love to bet on that rope in my mouth and float effortlessly. One day I stayed there this way for a very long time. My dad felt suspicious and suddenly felt my teeth might have been entangled in the rope, and perhaps I couldn't get rid of it, and probably was drowning. So he took off his shirt and pants and swam over to me in just his shorts, and took the rope right out of my mouth. I smiled at him in a way people rarely recognize, except open mouth. But I continued doing this, and after a few times he realized I might be just playing, and I could spat the rope out on my own. He wasn't sure enough, though. After a while, he came over and signaled me to stop. Pity these poor, over-concerned parents on earth. You must be wondering how I know so much and your dog seems to know nothing and silly. Actually, no. Your dog understands too. He or she just doesn't say so. How much we dogs know depends on whether or not our parents think about us. This obeys Newton's third law of mechanics. His law says that the action and reaction forces are equal in magnitude and opposite in direction. How much my dad loves me, I love my dad back. I think about my dad as much as my dad thinks about me. That's Newton's law. And therefore, what he writes about me is what I'm thinking. Thus, what a dog thinks about when swimming is communicated well to their dad as long as the channel is reciprocal during this time. When my dad is busy with other things and not thinking about me, of course I have to think about something else too. For example, when I was a child, my dad took me to a small lake not far away from our backyard, where I went swimming for the first time, with a twig in my mouth sometimes, at a leisurely pace. It was a small lake, but a very famous one, as Einstein was said to have been there quite often. Come to think of it, that lake is on the other side of the world. Oh, that makes me remember once I met a similar-looking dog there, and we tried to grab a twig from each other. I do not know where the dog is now. If I knew we would part and be at the two sides of the world, I would just have given the twig to that dog. It's not a big deal. Anyway, to further extent, what a dog thinks about when he or she swims depends on what their dad thinks about, such as philosophy, literature, art, investments, or even poetry or faraway places. By the way, one day my dad was reading a discussion in a WeChat group, and one of them said that not knowing philosophy, literature, art, investment, etc. has no effect on one's life. At that point, another guy chimed in and said that he never read anything but the necessary business manuals for work since he graduated from college, and that he was living just fine. My dad was there listening to their conversation in deep thought. Knowing what my dad was thinking, I had some thought too. I whooped at him and told him that these statements were untrue. If my dad doesn't read and understand these wonderful subjects, how can I? If we didn't know these things together, how could our lives, his life and my dog's life, have been so much more fun and richer as we believe now? One's abilities, passions, and time are limited, so no one can know everything, understand everything, or read everything, and there is nothing wrong with it. However, if one feels proud justified, even whine about not reading books. That's a bit too much. Not reading is as if some dogs always sniffing around in the grass, but never caring to be in the sea. I'm not saying that I'm more royal, or more dignified somehow, just because I have been to the sea this summer. But after all, the sea has something you cannot find in grass. And to try something different can enrich life. What? Not useful? Do not talk about what is useful or not. Any person or any dog would eventually be dead. No exception. Nothing will last forever. Useful or not, it will come to an end. The most important thing is to see the life scenery more thoroughly and show a little bit more tenderness toward each other. When a dog isn't swimming, what he or she thinks certainly also depends on what he or she or her dad is thinking about. Other than that, the dog mainly thinks about food, good food, and which good-looking dog left a smile in the grass, or in the steps, or in the pose, and maybe a few other things. Well, that's my essay. Essay from Dog.